think it's been an explosion for us lately. And we're trying to spread this beyond the borders of the Lehigh Valley because we want to pull people in here to what we're doing, even if it's just temporarily. Hey, come visit from this other country for 3 weeks and come be a part of this art show, or come do an artist residency, or come check out, you know, all these new great restaurants downtown and stuff like that. And I want to come to where you live and experience the same thing. And I think having those channels is going to offer the most opportunities for more than just the artists of the Valley. Like, I'm really trying to recreate the Valley in a way.
So Artsfest 2019 is coming. That means it's been 2 years since my car died in the Cali Burrito parking lot while I was watching the Road Sodas at 2017 Artsfest. It's the Pull Edit Podcast, a show where we put up spotlights on those creative minds we can find as best a couple college kids can.
It's not very well.
There we go. Nice. We're here in the Alternative Gallery with the director of the... What is your title?
Gallery director.
Okay.
That's really awesome. That's a great title.
Thanks.
Brandon Wunder.
You chose wisely.
I always like movies, so I guess director's a good title.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Has to be in there.
Yeah, I'm always like, this is a very conventional gallery, so I always like refer to you as the director, but I didn't know if that was right or not.
You've been right. You've been spot on the whole time.
All right. Thank God.
And we try to have it right in the name that we're not a conventional gallery.
Alternative.
Plus that was a good cover, so if anyone try to call it mistakes, well, it's like, oh, well, we're different.
Right. It just covers all the bases. Exactly. That's why we named our podcast what we did.
Yeah.
Because it covers all the bases.
You gotta set expectations low.
Smart. There's a lot in a name.
So we had you on a year ago?
A year ago, almost. It's probably, I think it's full a year. Yeah.
No, it was earlier this year. Was
it earlier? Oh, it was in the summer.
It was in March.
Last year.
That's just before Queen City.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dude, that was still to this day an amazing show. And I'm excited to get to sit down with you again.
Thanks.
I was looking forward to it as soon as we stopped filming that one, when the next time would be. Queen City was awesome.
That was a fun experience. I'll never forget that.
You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
I'm sure it was a crazy night to have all of that come together and everything.
We were literally working on issues up until the second the screening started.
Yeah,
I know.
That's always
I was talking to Matt.
Yeah. Matt came in and saved us with the sound issues because they were only set up for surround sound on their projector, not on their Blu-ray player.
Awesome.
So that was, we had to basically mix it on the fly. And with gear he's never seen before.
That's crazy.
In a movie theater.
He's amazing.
Being a sound engineer is a superpower.
He's an angel.
I'm convinced.
Yeah.
So like that's hard. Like doing this took me way too long. It's 3 tracks, and we have 1 mic for each person.
There's a learning curve to everything, but he's mastered it.
Yeah.
And even like he's doing stuff with us over at Martin Guitar now.
Yeah.
And Martin Guitar has worked with like every musician that's ever been born.
Yeah.
And they're blown away by him. Like we can tell he's a genius. So that's saying something.
Sure. That's awesome.
So yeah, shout out to Matt Mulchaney. We love it, buddy.
100%.
Yes, certainly a sign that you're in the right line of work.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Surround yourself with, great people, knowledgeable people who are able to do things better than you can.
Yeah.
And put them in charge of that thing. So I hope Matt Mulchaney is on my team forever. I really do.
So
putting him on right now.
He knows.
This podcast
He knows I love him.
So Matt Mulchaney's Achilles tendon.
Yeah. Which happened right after the rooftop session. So I feel like that's my fault.
Was it the dismount?
No, so it was after he went home, but it was after a full day of us running around the roof, going up and down. Me and Matt's tradition is always, as soon as we're all set up there, we sneak down to the gallery and we just pound a freezing cold beer, get brain freeze, and then run upstairs and regret. It's awesome. That's our tradition.
That's amazing.
Sounds like a weird exercise.
I guess it's not a secret anymore.
We can cut that out.
Nah, it's okay.
I can do that. I can try that on the fly. I don't know if it'll go as well.
No, dude, and now you have Artsfest coming up.
Artsfest is almost upon us again, yes.
You just don't seem to have a break. You're just there's always the next thing.
No, the lack of break is definitely taking its toll, but we're managing, and I got some plans to change things up after Artsfest to kind of ease some burdens on me and my crew. That way, because I don't want to stop what we're doing here, but it has been too much.
Yeah.
So we're going to slow it down in a way that things are still going to go consistently, but that we all have some more breathing room. and time for our lives and personal projects, because we're all working on our own stuff outside of everything we do here.
Yeah, it's hard. Once you start facilitating other people's personal projects, you're like, oh, that's sweet, and I'm glad I'm part of it, but I kind of have this own thing I want to do.
Yeah, and it's hard because it is all volunteer run, so you have to convince people to come in and work for free and not sound like an asshole about it. I mean, hey, you're really great at this thing. Can you come do it for me for like a really long period of time and just never get paid? How do you sell that?
Indefinitely.
You have to find people who are really passionate about it and believe in the cause and
100%
and are reliable. They have to be reliable. That's the most important thing.
Reliable for free is very, very hard to find.
Yes, most of us have good intentions, but good intentions don't get the job done, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I mean, with what you've been able to build here and what you have available to work with, like it's amazing what you've been able to create here, and the amount of attention that I know has been around here since we had you on the show even has, like, I've seen it just increasing, and like it's just becoming, it is, it's not becoming, it is what you want it to be. It's amazing.
I always knew that once we started getting the film stuff locked in with the art world aspect here in the Valley, it would change things. And of course I didn't know how it was going to change things, but I was thinking more like movie money. Start getting like, oh, I'm gonna have Brad Pitt come out to a show eventually one day. Like big pipe dreams. And I love the phrase "life is what happens when you're busy making plans." So like you have this idea in your head and it just naturally happens its own way. But we did incorporate film in this. And it is taken in a different direction. I think it's been an explosion for us lately. And we're trying to spread this beyond the borders of Lehigh Valley because we want to pull people in here to what we're doing. Even if it's just temporarily. Hey, come visit from this side of the country for 3 weeks and come be a part of this art show, or come do an artist residency, or come check out, all these new great restaurants downtown and stuff like that. And I want to come to where you live and experience the same thing. And I think having those channels is going to offer the most opportunities for more than just the artists of the Valley. Like, I'm really trying to recreate the Valley in a way where we're mixing up what's here and throwing in a lot more outside ingredients, because it needs that little, spike in flavor right now, I think. And we're on the path. It's great to see happen, and in moments it spikes and it's quick, and other moments it just drags on for a bit. But you need both those things because, since we had the meeting, or I'm sorry, the conversation about Queen City earlier this year, things have just been like full force ahead. It's hard to keep up with. It really is. But I'm proud of it, and I want this to go on for a long, long, long time.
I can personally vouch that this place is like a really cool energy that just makes things easier, like makes creative things easier to do. There's a couple projects I've been like, we're like trying to figure out a place to shoot. I'm like, let's just do it here.
You've done a few things here now.
I'm sure that they turned out better because they were shot here as opposed to other places. Awesome. Just because there's like a certain amount of anxiety going in that like I was way less here, especially since both of them I was doing really stupid shit. I even told you, and you're like, this sounds good. I was like, I'm gonna be dressed up as a clown, and you're like, awesome.
Do your thing. And that's there was a reason behind it.
And that's what you need in terms of art, to have a space that is conducive to that kind of attitude. Like, that's the most important.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work any other way. You need to have those like kind of no holds barred. Just go for it.
Look, especially when someone's starting out. Like we had our open mic has been on hiatus for about a little over a year now, only because we've been so swamped and looking for someone to kind of run it for us. But even then, you'd have people that would come up and do stand-up or live music for their first time, and no matter how bad they ate shit, we cheered them on. Like, come on, keep it going. And it's not about you messing up in that moment. It's about you had enough courage to get up there and do your thing in front of people. You stepped out of the shower and stopped singing in the shower and sang in front of people.
And to be the venue that was that person's first, you know what I mean? Whatever's gonna happen, if they make it, that's, but if whatever happens, the fact that that's where it all went down, that's like, that must be crazy to have created and fostered the environment where that's possible for people.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You hear it a lot with anyone that is in a position kind of similar to ours, where it's like, if you helped one person, you've accomplished your goal. You've done your job.
100%.
And I'm sure that's happened for a lot more than one person. I don't know explicitly because I only know from what I see. But I just hope we can be an example.
Yeah.
Because Lehigh Valley needs a dozen of these. and it barely has one. We barely make this work. I mean, you would need to do a series of podcasts for me to like truly delve into how this keeps going.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but I'm not asking anyone to model exactly my model. There are better ways to do it, but you need outside support in the way of government, local businesses, and I mean even a lot of our music shows. Like I've been having to get pushy with the musicians lately. I'm like, well, unfortunately, I don't really sue you when you come out when your band is playing.
Right.
You're not coming and hanging out for shows.
Right.
You're not volunteering. We need you to do that too, because that's how you build a scene.
Exactly.
And we'll still get there, but it's going to take longer by them doing that. And I don't think they're doing it intentionally. They just might not be aware that this is how we go forward quicker and provide more opportunities for other bands.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see the big picture on like an individual level.
It is.
So you can see everything going on, and other people like, yeah, it's like a really weird game of chess where everyone's trying to win, but no one knows what they're doing.
That's right. Well, I think we all kind of live in our own bubble now in a weird way with social media.
Yeah.
And I mean,
You're trying to do your own
Did you
thing.
guys watch that documentary, The Great Hack, on Netflix?
No.
It was about the Cambridge Analytica that they bought all the data from Facebook, that whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And how they like basically got Trump elected by focusing on 77,000 voters, but they talk about how every single person in the world now has their own unique reality based on what they see in social media.
Yeah.
So your news feed is different than my news feed, and it's when you really start to think about that, that's crazy. I mean, I think social media is amazing. It's that you have instant communication with everyone in the world. That's true power. But it's just
most people
really being used in weird ways.
Yeah, most people just communicate with people that are like-minded, or not most, but a lot of people do that, where they just communicate with people who are like-minded, and then they're just reinforcing their own worldview, which is usually has negative effects.
Such a crazy point you make, because like your feed could be filled with so many philanthropic kind of like amazing stuff like that, whereas mine might be stuff that's more
videos.
memes.
Right, exactly. And that like view of the world in terms of how you're intaking all that information and what it seems like is the
correct.
You know what I mean? That's crazy. That's a crazy
wild
thought.
to think about.
That's wild.
We still exist in the same world, but
that's crazy.
It seems like we don't, though. But it's just growing pains. I don't think the internet is a bad tool. I don't think it was a bad invention. Nor do I think social media. The same reason when I hear people saying, "Oh, like TV's an idiot box," I get kind of annoyed by that because I love television.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's some true artistry in TV, some really solid writing. It's what you choose to utilize it for.
Right.
Are you watching documentaries? Are you watching season 30 of Honey Boo Boo? I mean, you have the choice to watch what you want. Same thing with the internet. It's like you're taking in whatever information you want, and it's all about focus. And I just circling back to what we're doing here, I think to have any kind of focus like show or effort, it helps people. Like Artsfest is a tangible thing. So it's like people always ask me, well, do you guys get sponsors and stuff for the alternative gallery? It's like, well, that's a very intangible thing.
Right.
Just ask people to support us because it's a complex answer to tell somebody what we do. But Artsfest, it's a very focused, detailed conversation. Oh, this is a festival. These days we do this. There's so many people, so it's easier to get support like that. But so that's why we need more focused things. And this is what I call a beautiful distraction.
Yeah. That's the title of your episode. If you're
Let's do it.
It's an amazing.
Because in I'm sure you guys have studied documentary filmmaking to some extent, and a lot of like documentary and journalistic reporting says that one of the first steps to solving a problem is bringing awareness to a problem.
Yep.
I personally think that not every problem can be solved that way.
Just through awareness.
I think sometimes like
more.
trying to literally just focusedly fix a problem doesn't actually fix a problem.
Right.
Like some problems just kind of need to go away on their own. Now I'm not talking about the old school Christian method of just ignore it and it'll go away.
Yeah.
But I'm saying some things like, all right, for example, you're seeing because of the spike in homicides and violence and stuff throughout the Lehigh Valley, a lot of stop the violence movements.
Right.
I don't think that you're gonna stop violence by having an event called Stop the Violence.
Yeah, I don't think people
you're
are.
stop
That's like the Just Say No campaign. It's like that's not. You need way more than that.
And it's
to
not
fix
that
problem.
I don't. I still appreciate the efforts of those people putting those events together, and I'm not saying they're part of the problem in any way, but I'm saying I think that there's a more effective way to do things, and having these things that we're not even reminding you of the violence. We're
just bringing people together.
We're doing this amazing thing that there's no issues, no one's looking over each other's shoulders, nothing like that. And everything is accessible. I mean, like it says here, it's free, and it's always going to be free. We're never going to charge for that admission. That's how it needs to be, because there's still a real major poverty issue in Allentown. And if those poorest of the poor can't afford to be a part of Artsfest, I mean, who's the festival really for?
Right.
Yeah.
Should be for everybody.
And how are things going to get?
The Allentown Artsfest is for half of Allentown.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really wanted to be Lehigh Valley Arts Fest, but we called it Allentown Arts Fest because we're really trying to champion the city. When we start the gallery, I have messages of people scolding me and laughing at me and mocking me for starting a gallery in Allentown instead of Bethlehem. Because at that time, Bethlehem had all these cool DIY art spaces.
Right,
and things change, ebb and flow. And right now, they don't have as many. And I'm not like celebrating it. It's just, well, I chose to stick it out in Allentown because I thought there was something real here. And on top of that, it had nothing. And the fact that everyone laughed that we started there was a reason why it needed something.
Exactly.
And so we called it Allentown Arts Fest to kind of champion the area and bring it up like, look, we are serious about the arts here. The arts do have a place here. So much so that we're creating this fringe arts festival and naming it after our city. Wow. And that has, I think, has really breathed a lot of life into the city. And as far as just like knowing that our citizens believe and are willing to get up and do something to make the city a little bit better. You know, because I grew up in this area, to see it change this way is incredible. I mean, this used to be a sketchy part of town. Some people still think it is. It's not. But it really was at one point.
Yeah.
And I think it's, I don't want to just applaud our efforts. It's just simple human presence and lack of people committing acts that would be distasteful in public.
It's just like a constant sign that someone cares that this is still going on, which I think people, if that's in their neighborhood, then that'll affect them.
Exactly. Yeah. And the closer it is to home, I think the bigger the impact it'll have on you, especially if you got younger kids, man. Or teenagers. I mean, this place is perfect for teenagers and college kids, I think. Like, it's really cool when prom time rolls around, you see all the people coming and taking prom pictures.
Oh, that's
That must be
awesome.
I'm like, yeah, I'm always like in love with that.
I gotta go back in time and tell younger me about
That's
that.
gonna be like, that's gonna be the stuff that they're gonna have for the rest of their lives, probably hanging in their, like, you know, hallway or their living room, you know.
And
it was here.
I love, like, when I'm just like looking around, bouncing around social media, and I'll come across like a profile picture of someone like in front of a piece of art, or always the TVs. People love doing stuff with the TVs. Just like someone I never even met. And I'd say the three things I hear most often here would be TV, cat, and vibes, just like you said.
Yeah.
People talk about vibes, and like I always thought that was like a crock of shit. But then,
It's so ambiguous and vague that you're like, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
But then you think about it and you're like, no, okay.
I
like,
think energy really can bounce around in a place like that too, and you can pick up on it. I don't know the pseudoscience or anything behind it, but there's something there. There's gotta be.
Yeah.
Because when we moved into this building, it wasn't the case. It felt empty. You
Right.
know, it just felt like anything you were doing was getting absorbed into the naked walls that had no art in them. And then you start putting TVs and weird stuff and art all around.
Maybe art bounces the vibes. You just gotta have more art.
Well, there's a lot of theories, not even theories, a lot of studies that prove that art, it cleans up areas. I mean, even Seatown across the street here where these murals are, the amount of littering that happens now is got to be like 70% less.
Really?
Just because there's murals there now.
Well, think about, I mean, what art does. It's something that can transcend whatever your situations are and whatever the different walks of life are, and it can be that common ground, you know, like that's why it's so powerful. That's why I love music. That's why I love films. That's why, because if nothing else, you can still have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can
I
have
love
that
I
common.
know that people do art for different reasons too.
Yeah.
Like when people try to assign rules, like art has to be this.
Oh, that's
art
ridiculous.
can be whatever it wants to be.
That's the beauty of the alternative part, I think, is because like it takes everybody who's not in like the regular art, or I don't know what they call the regular art scene, but like if anyone gets cast out of a scene, they can go to the alternative scene and then they're welcome there.
Yeah.
That's why I like punk so much, is because it's like
It's very
less,
simple.
it's like that's how it started.
When I think punk has a great philosophy overall.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the saying is, pick someone up in the pit and in life. That's how it's supposed to be.
Nice, dude.
You know, I mean,
Never heard that before.
Yeah,
That's great.
That's a great-
it's
that's a
like
great
it's
line.
like the anchor point of the whole.
done
the
one of
whole
those
punk
things.
culture. And if you look
fallen in
at,
the pit.
if you look at, there is it's called Positive Force. I think it's called. It's a documentary about the emergence of the punk scene in Washington D.C. And it's exactly the opposite of what everyone else thinks. Like they got a house together because a lot of them were homeless, and they would literally make meals and go feed homeless people and do clothing drives. drives in the winter and stuff like that, and it's not at all what people would think is punk, but that's why they started it. Wow. And the wild music is them getting their emotions out in a controlled environment, having fun with it, and that's why you pick someone up when they're falling down in the pit because your intent isn't to hurt anyone. I've seen it happen here so many times. Someone just gets knocked over, everyone stops and picks them up. It's like, that's incredible. They could have just stomped all over him like it was nothing, and they chose not to.
It's also insane.
It's
hard to notice people in a pit.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
But somehow, whenever there's a pit and somebody falls down, it's always like immediately somehow they just like it stops, which is crazy.
You get some violent ones too. Yeah. I'm not a fan of those.
Well.
Some dude like lowered his shoulder and charged at me at a punk show at Artsquest, and I was like, this is not the. This is like the last set too.
Wow.
Really? He was very, very plastered though. Like immediately, like I was like, how long were you drinking before this show?
That usually
you know
has
what I
an
mean?
effect.
Yeah, and so but thankfully, usually everyone else around is like, hey, let's get that guy away from everybody immediately.
That's how it's supposed to be.
I love
isolation,
the street justice of not in a violent way, but just of like
taking order of things.
Yeah, like okay, this guy's bad for everyone around him. Like let's remove that. Like that's
great. Communities are absolutely responsible for policing themselves, and you have those sub-communities with things like the punk world. And if we want this to last, we need to make sure that we're responsible enough to maintain it. Otherwise, what real argument do we have to keep doing whatever we want?
Right.
So I think it's a very responsible philosophy they have overall.
It's also kind of how it works here, because it's like really hands-off kind of play. Like I can walk in and like look at every piece of art in here and probably never see somebody like a manager or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like I can just walk out and it's like
we try not to guide people unless they want a tour, or like what I usually do is step out and just explain the basic layout of the buildings and what path of the building I recommend taking. And I do envy the people that come here for the first time. I would love to see this building with fresh eyes, because I've been there for every meticulous detail. Scratch and scrape and brush stroke. I would love to just see.
Or just come in and be hit with all of it at once. Yeah.
I mean, I at the end I probably do get the most out of it just because I spend the most time here. But to see it with that perspective, because I'm very interested in that.
I've been touring people here for a while. Ever since I learned about this place.
I've been seeing you a lot here. I really appreciate that.
Including like my entire family one time.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, it was great. The whole family came out.
I mean, and we brought Daniel Roebuck here at one point. That was an amazing, for us, like, and we were filming that, to be looking and watching the interaction between you two and doing that whole tour at the same time and like having all that and seeing that through the viewfinder was just an amazing like experience. He's
a very genuine guy. So for me, it was extremely easy to connect with him, and just, I mean, he's the kind of guy you get any conversation with. Doesn't matter what the topic is. Like I'll have all right, let me pull up my phone and learn something about this topic so we can talk about it real quick because I'm really interested in continuing this conversation. He's that kind of guy. Yeah. And when you find that, you gotta link into it. So when's he coming back?
Actually, very soon. Actually, I think next week.
We should tell him to come out to Artsfest.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know if he's in town during Artsfest. If he is, though,
he's got to change his plan.
I'll definitely tell him.
I can see if I can get in there.
No, but and he was really stoked about it too. The love of the art. I mean, that's what anyone who's in an arts industry or has any passion for that. You can't be in here and look around and walk around and talk to you or the other people here and not be just overwhelmed with that sense of how much care there is for the thing you love, which is this medium.
I think our passion is the probably the only thing that has made us persevere over the years.
Bro, that's what it's all about for anything.
Yeah.
It's all, if you don't have passion for what you're doing, it's not going to go anywhere.
Correct. And going back to how he said that artists do things for a number of reasons, the one thing I do tell artists across the board is just create selfishly. Like don't create because you think someone's going to like this piece or it's going to sell quicker. Create because it's the thing that you're stuck on.
Yeah.
Create because it's like, all right, for example, I'm writing a film right now, and the only reason I'm writing it is because I had the idea about the movie, and then I got annoyed that the movie didn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if I want to watch this movie, I have to make it.
That's on me now.
I think that's a good reason to make a film.
Amazing reason to make anything, usually.
Yeah. Documentary, I take a different approach, only because I'm interested in obviously documenting stuff, but telling unheard stories that are sometimes right under your nose. It's really cool, the unique characters, the offbeat characters that we are cast with
I love
in this film of life, but we just never got a chance to see or interact with. So we try to uncover stuff like that. There's a lot of them out there.
It's cool. Sometimes when I'm driving down the highway, I'm like, these are all individual people in the cars around me, and they're all doing their own thing.
Yeah, it's difficult to remember that on a regular basis.
Or even wrap your head around. And like to a certain extent, it's like, how can you even quantify? Like, how do you make that make sense in your head? That like all of that, and there's all these branching paths for every. It's like,
It's probably too much for your brain to handle.
It totally is.
Fully understand.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
You would need like a giant chalkboard and the mind of like a rocket scientist and stole the brain of another rocket scientist. I don't know how else to put it. I can't decipher that. That's too large for me.
And then it's just important to remember that, like, when it comes to how you're going to interact with people on that daily basis, at least to keep in mind that they are that person with that complexity of everything going on and emotions and their goals, and you know what I mean? Like, that really changes. If you try to keep that in mind, it really changes how you're going to interact with people during the day, instead of viewing them as like zombies that are just populating your world. You know what I mean? Which I feel like is how a lot of people.
And we can all get there. It's when you're frustrated and don't want to be bothered, it's easy to feel that kind of way, like, everyone sucks, I want to be around anyone. But I mean, it's not the case, man. Like, we are packed animals. We rely on each other. We're social creatures. We need other people. And I try to like pick up little things along the way that make me look at. Picking up a little thing can really make you look at something completely different. And one of the things I picked up along the way was everyone you meet will know something you don't.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're going to experience something you've never experienced. They're going to see something you'll never see in your life. I mean, that's really, really interesting. And when you keep that in mind, I think you kind of treat people different. You talk to people different. And you listen more. It's not all about like, let me just spew my thing and wait for my turn to spew more. It's like, let's figure out like what makes us us, and those differences somehow make us relate too. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts about this is there are days when I don't want to deal with anyone. Like there was for example, last week I was having a rough day and this couple walked in and they were asking for studio space, but what they wanted to do didn't fit like the theme of the building. It was more of a small business and art. And at one point we would have taken that, but now the building's pretty full, so we didn't take it in. And I was just trying to shoo them off at first because like, I don't want to deal with you. But then we just started talking, and then the conversation was going amazing. Like 40 minutes later, she drops that she's from a music family. And she's like, you might know I might have heard of my grandfather. His name was John Coltrane. I was like, what? Now, I'm obsessed with jazz.
Was it the same John Coltrane?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was that John Coltrane.
Jesus Christ.
And she was...
How long did the conversation last after that?
I tried not to like be a fanatic and join like...
that's crazy.
And obviously, because he died back in 67, so he passed away long before she ever got to meet him. So any information she would have would be secondhand. I didn't want to try to treat her any differently. I was really excited about it. Yeah, it was like, all right, let me pull some John Coltrane records right now and put them on. You want to listen to this record with me? But we continued the conversation for about another 20 minutes or so. But what was really cool is the next day she emailed me, and her and her husband were just thankful to come and hang out, and they asked like, how can we volunteer? So it started as and that's what I try to do. Even when I tell someone no here, I try to branch it off into something else. No, but it's not going to work here. Here's a better option. Well, and even when people try to rent out the gallery for like random parties and stuff like that, because we don't do it, I try to make them like a fan or a supporter of this place. Right. Not just I don't want to. I don't know how much I can curse, but
you do whatever you want, man.
Hey.
Cool.
This is your building. You can check this out.
It's not my building yet.
Okay.
Just
That's the other insane part about this place is that it feels like no one like who owns it, like someone else owns this building, and you like kind of slowly finagled your way into where you are now.
That's right.
That's like insane that someone made that decision though. I'm not saying like I'm very happy with it, but someone who's in a position of power making money off a business was like,
I know.
You're going to give someone else full creative control over your
That's
building.
the great thing, though, is it's an example that that's possible and that those people are out there. And you talk about, like, you want Artsfest to be free forever, and that doesn't, like, I know that doesn't come at just no cost. Like, you have to have people supporting it and companies supporting it and people with money and funding to support it. And those companies and those businesses and those people, they're out there that share those values for real. You know, like, it's so easy to think like everyone's just driven completely by profit and like nobody cares and like capitalism, whatever. But it's out there. You know what I mean?
Capitalism is rampant. We can scale it back. We need to rebuild our communities, restructure our societies, and remind each other of why communities are important. And I think, again, because we do live in these bubbles, like we talked about before, we feel like there's this distance between us, but we're still all connected together. We're on the same ship, and if the ship sinks, we're all doomed. And I mean, when I first took over running this building, I felt like I was a con artist. I had conned this guy. But then as I went, because there was no rule book, we just figured out as we went. Like, we started the gallery at a different location, moved here. For the first 15 months, I was just a tenant in the building. But in that time, we were already helping, like, take out trash, clean, paint, all that stuff, which is the job role we eventually took over anyways. I found it eventually that the deal we have is actually kind of common, where a building owner will bring in a superintendent and they'll exchange services, especially with nonprofits. Like, okay, you guys take care of the building and we'll give you your space rent free. But I took it a step further, that I wanted creative control, simply because if I didn't have control over the main gallery and they could just, we're gonna throw Susan's 37th birthday party in there, and then the next 2 days we're cleaning, repainting, spackling the walls. Like, I'm super, super, super picky about what I let happen in there, because when a show's done, I want to be able to lock the door and my day's done. I don't want to spend 6-12 hours cleaning and fixing stuff. That's time. It's literally at a point where if I'm spending 6 hours doing this thing, that means I'm not spending 6 hours on this thing. I have to pick and choose my project at this point. The only other option is to sleep less, and I won't do that. I mean, I have to get my 6 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Otherwise, my brain just doesn't function properly. I mean, I wish I could be one of those people that sleep on 2 hours a night. I mean, I don't know. I'm not into hard drugs, so maybe that's the answer. Haven't explored that option too much yet, but
Is it on the table or like
this table? I mean, on this table? That's probably the closest thing right there to NOS.
That's true. It's very true.
I need that because I didn't sleep very well
Chinese
last
metals
night.
in it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Getting international.
But no, the deal we do have here is spectacular, and I very much appreciate the building owner putting in the time and effort to. Most people that would have a building like this would just make it apartments. Or just something generic like that.
Or just, renting out that venue for like, whatever, wedding or whoever.
Which is what he wanted to do.
Right.
He had a lot of fights about that.
Naturally, it's the first thing you go to when you have just this, a hall like that.
He's a for-profit. I'm a non-profit. That's where we conflict, because I'm trying to provide something for my community, not make money on my community. That's a big difference. Again, because the poorest of the poor should be able to come out and utilize it. The classroom we're sitting in, the festival we're about to embark on for the 6th time. I mean, it's pretty spectacular.
It's awesome.
And you'll never fully know the impact you have on the younger generation until they're our age or older. And you'll even then probably won't know. But it's not for you to know and be like, oh, look what I did. It's like, all right, well, let's set this person on a different path. I mean, every single kid we've ever had here that lives in the neighborhood, they've never seen live music. Never. Until they came here. They'll come out for metal shows and rock out. They'll jump in the pit with the guys.
This is accessible.
Yeah, we try to make it, That's great. And of course, we attempt to get the parents down here to meet us. Like, all right, well, your kids are hanging out with a bunch of grown-ups.
Right.
You should probably figure out what the hell's going on down there. They just don't care. It's really, not all of them. But, that's not. I don't want to say that, but the majority don't care. We've never seen them. Like the one time, the classroom here, class is recommended for children 5 and older. The one girl brought her 2-year-old sister, and we couldn't. We couldn't have that. So we called the mother. The mother took a good old time to get down here. And when she got down here, she was clearly in her pajamas, and she was just like eating ice cream, like didn't care. Just sent her 2-year-old.
She brought ice cream with her?
Yeah.
Wow.
And not enough to share.
That's not right.
She forgot what class was all about.
That's true.
This podcast is sponsored by Relevant, a location-based mobile network personalized by your interests. Customize your newsfeed to consolidate all the information you care about all in one place to quickly and easily find what's relevant to you. Find out what's going on in your local area and reach your community from the palm of your hand. Relevant is available on iOS and coming soon to Android. Be the first to know with Relevant.
So Artsfest is coming up, and what's going through your mind? Like when you have a huge festival, because I mean, when we talked to you back, it was Queen City was the next thing on the horizon, so that was a big.
But animation festival since then,
right?
Yeah.
So with this festival on the horizon for you now, what's going through your head? Like it's a huge undertaking. I'm sure it's so many moving parts.
I'm
so
strangely relaxed.
Yeah, I asked you the
That's
other day,
good.
and you're like, it's good. And I was like,
Yeah, no, me and Bernie. So Bernie is the festival director. I mean, and Artsfest is really that's her baby. We started this together the first year. She just happened to know a lot of the food vendors and where to rent the porta potties and where to get light towers, and so she just naturally became the festival director, which is what happens here. We don't hand out positions. People kind of emerge. Excuse me, and now we're at a point where we're trying to like create positions and fill them. But with this, she just took over the festival in a natural way.
Yeah,
and it's been a very, very steep learning process for us. And
there's no roadmap. There's no how do you put on Artsfest? You know, it's like you
because
just have to.
we changed our location once, just on the other side of Cedar Beach. That was no fault of ours. The city accidentally double booked, and we got forced to go on the Rose Garden side. Which that was 2015. That was a really bad year. That was the year we had severe flooding.
Yeah.
Photos in the morning call. If you go to Google, you type in Artsfest flooding 2015. There's me and my buddy Steve were waist deep in the waters trying to save the graffiti panels. It was pretty terrible.
Jeez,
That's crazy.
But we've really gotten the hang of it, and because we found like the right vendors for stuff, and the footprint hasn't really changed from last year. We're not adding any extra stages. We've added about 30 more. He wants to come. We've added about 30 more art vendors. That's about it. No new stages or anything like that. We did add busking sites in as well.
Nice.
So because we've gotten so good at it and we didn't change it much, we've refined. And there's been a growth, but not a huge growth. We're trying to make it grow incrementally, not suddenly we have 100,000 people. I want to keep the festival smaller for a long time. That way it retains its spirit and it finds its own footing naturally. I don't want to force it to be a big event. I'm not interested in just making this huge event.
Right.
I want it to be kind of the spirit of what we have here and maintain it. And if all of a sudden we need 5 times the amount of people next year, it's going to be a different type of festival. So we're relaxed because it's a rhythm now.
Right.
And honestly, for me, I mean, Bernie has the most to do for sure. For me, I do the creative part. I help get the poster done. I book all the music. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to see happen new for this year. All that stuff is done. So for me, it's just making sure we have enough volunteers, making sure that our volunteers are going to be where they need to be at the right time, all that kind of stuff, packing stuff up. But I just did 50 spots last month.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was planning 50 live music performances at 50 different outdoor locations at the same time.
And trying to get all of them filmed.
Yeah. And that was like, I had my one friend Alex help me scout locations, but essentially the booking I was doing by myself.
Right.
And if you think about that,
That's crazy.
50 live performances, that's more than Music Fest has at once. That's insane.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did it, but like after that, it's just like, it's 2 stages. I have to
Yeah,
book
it
2
seems like not a big
performances
deal.
at the same time. This is nothing.
That's so funny.
Wake me up when you guys are setting up and I'll show up. So, I mean, I don't want to get like too cocky and the rain gods kind of slap us around, which has been the problem in the past. But yeah, it's become easy, and it's designed to become easier so that Artsfest isn't meant to impact the gallery. We should be able to do the gallery stuff on a regular basis and still do Artsfest. That's how any project has to happen from here on out, because simply there aren't enough people, there aren't enough resources, there isn't enough time to do it any other way. And for this to keep existing, that's the path we have to take. So Artsfest, we're very worried at how relaxed we are right now. Like really, really worried. But hey, I mean, we're gonna see how it goes.
It's gonna shake out.
I'm excited for it because the music alone this year, we always have great music, but I've been really handpicking things that's what I love here. It's like bands that I love that come through here, like, hey, we play Arts Fest.
Yeah.
Play Arts Fest. And of course, we have submissions, and we have every year the amount of submissions goes way up. So this year it was hard to narrow it down because we turned away a lot of good stuff. So in future years, we want to add more stages and stuff like that. But because of 50 spots, we are adding more busking sites. So again, even though we told people no, they couldn't play, we're trying to give them another option.
Oh, that's cool.
Right.
That's
Okay.
So, and it's leaning into the whole idea of. I think that curators are extremely important, especially in an era now where we're just drowning in content.
Yeah.
You need curators. And so those are the gatekeepers. You need gatekeepers. But the problem arises when you only have gatekeepers. When you don't have spots that people can go and do their thing, unscheduled, unsupervised. And you need a combination of those two for things to really take the proper path forward, I think. Because then it's not forced. You're going to find things you didn't expect to find. That's why open mics are great. You have no idea what you're going to... Like, when you have a show, you know what to expect.
Right, yeah.
When you have an open mic, you don't know who's going to show up that day. And that's kind of what this is. It's an ongoing public open mic all over the city.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I'm excited about everything, though.
Yeah,
Not everything, but most things.
Funny story about that. We were gonna send somebody to film a spot, and like, so Zach was gonna go with a camera, and we were like,
Oh, he went.
he didn't
Zach
have a lot,
went
there wasn't a
with
lot of
the camera.
time for him to get over here, so he just
we had
found
to
a
shoot.
spot on the list and just picked it, and he picked L Tri-C, and he went to the other L Tri-C.
In
He
Schnecksville.
went to Schnecksville L Tri-C and was walking around.
Yeah,
and
and
he's like, I don't see
"Where's
any
the
live
music?"
music.
Dude, I was like, you mean for the Allentown 50 Spots event?
No, the
You
one in
went to
Hamilton.
Schnecksville?
Ooh. Sorry, do I owe some gas money or something?
No,
No, it's his fault.
it's fine.
Yeah, so the original idea of that was we were going to have it citywide.
Yeah.
But then it was just less and less practical because it was me and basically one other person doing everything.
Oh, yeah.
So we condensed it to 7th Street in Hamilton because that way we could literally just run around to all the spots. So I didn't have to waste time getting back in the vehicle, driving. I just cut it all out because I was filming too, even though I started out. Like, I was intending to film at noon. Of course, it didn't happen because there's all these issues. Like, we were trying to use some of the power on light towers down there, but we went and tested them out, and literally from the one night to the next morning, some of them blew.
Awesome.
So we were like, our extension cords halfway through downtown. It was just like, it was
Damage control. Fast.
Yeah,
That's
we made it
great.
work. It was great.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, some musicians did drop out and some just didn't show up. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
So there was never a point, unfortunately, where all 50 were active at the same time, but most were. And I mean, the argument for us is because we're trying to get a new ordinance passed that creates official busking sites for musicians. And we use this as leverage to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm only trying to get 5 to start with. And it makes it really easy that we had an event that was successful with 50 locations and no problems to get 5. Well, we did 50,
true.
what's 5? So we're making it very, very easy for the city to say yes. And that just extends more opportunities to artists. And I think once we have these busking sites, you're going to see artists coming from Baltimore, Philly, hopefully New Orleans, Nashville. I would love to see that happen. Because if artists know that they're protected to come here and busk and put out a hat and collect donations legally, and by being protected by the city, they're more likely to come to the city.
It's true.
I really believe that's our path forward for the arts in the city.
Well, yeah, if you create more opportunities,
Correct.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's going to be a big push forward for it in the future.
Dude, everything you're doing, you need to keep doing. And
I mean, I don't think we could stop him at this point. So I mean,
yeah, no, for sure. But
Well,
I mean,
I'm trying to like. I'm probably I'm going to be traveling a lot at the end of this year and at least early next year, just to kind of jump on some projects I've been meaning to do for a while.
Yeah.
And to get away, because I mean, yeah, I've been trapped here doing this for a long time, and my crew is more than capable of holding this down. More than capable. But it's just me actually taking the time to get away.
Yeah.
You know, doing some documentaries and films
gotta
outside
have
of the
that.
valley.
you got to give yourself that, you know?
And because I am so serious about the alternative gallery, I don't want that to just exist here. I want to take that idea to other places. I want to go get inspired and bring that inspiration back here and
Yes.
you know, connect those places together, because I think for this to work, we need a vast network. Not just essentially like I start 30 alternative galleries, but even if I just work with other like-minded spaces.
Right.
We need that, you know, as a species, I think. You know,
Yeah.
especially now when we're just things are falling apart, it seems. But I think it's just it's a crashing wave. It'll pass, and we need to do a lot better moving forward.
even if you're like, there needs to be more places like this, but even if you drop this into a different city, it's not going to work probably, because you need to like
Customize it.
Yeah, it needs to be like for the city. It can't just be like generic.
And that's why I think formulas are really bad.
Yeah.
And that's why,
Especially when it comes to
and that's
art.
why I stopped with math and algebra, because when life became about memorizing formulas, I'm like, I'm out. I don't want to memorize formulas. I'll take a cheat sheet, but you know, like humans are we are complicated. We make everything more difficult than it needs to be. Every damn thing. Name one thing right now that humans do.
Eat.
Eat? Yeah. Ask your girlfriend what she wants to eat tonight.
Lizzy, what do you want to eat tonight?
Just
She
saying.
doesn't know.
And that was just one, like, we like to make everything.
I love that. Yeah, it used to be you were foraging for food and you didn't know when your next meal was going to be and you were scared about that, but now you're like you're like picky about what you're going to eat next.
Now we're just all waiting for Popeyes to get the sandwiches back.
Yeah.
Which I had one, by the way. It was great.
Was it? Was it better than Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, I don't like Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
And it's, I mean, I hate their stance on things, of course.
Yeah.
But their chicken's also not that good.
It's not worth the trade-off of your values.
Popeyes is called Louisiana Kitchen. You know it's going to be good.
Oh,
Get the spicy fried chicken.
It's true. It's big facts. That's actually big facts dropped.
Actually, they're sponsoring this podcast, so.
I wish. I'll just get paid in sandwiches. You can just send me the chick. I'll make the sandwich myself.
We're selling sandwiches for like $2,000 on eBay.
Like cold? Like what is that?
I mean, I would assume.
It's ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure. I think I saw Quavo bought a ton, and like he just went somewhere and bought a ton, and then he was trying to sell them outside for like $10 each, and nobody was buying them.
The hustle.
So he just had a bunch of
I
sandwiches.
saw some like winning like baseball team or something like that got like a plate of them or something. I don't know. Something like that. It's like a Trump move.
That's a great. That just shows how awesome humans can be. Is that we somehow turned a chicken sandwich into a way bigger thing?
I think it's like a happy distraction for us right now among all the craziness in the media. It just seems like the most harmless thing. Like a delicious sandwich that everyone's clamoring for. Yeah, I'll take that over, you know, we're going to get bombed tomorrow, or what dictator are we becoming friends with today?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'll take a chicken
I
sandwich.
wonder what, that happened in the past too. Like, did people make jokes out of these things like this, like before the internet?
I'm sure they did, yeah.
I think this has to be the widest scale, though.
You think? You mean the humor of the time?
Yeah, for sure.
Probably. I think it comes in waves. I think like this, the sarcasm kind of comes in waves. The irony kind of comedy comes in waves.
Sure,
for sure.
I agree with that.
I'm saying it's interesting because now it's like widespread, and everyone can have the same joke.
That's true.
Through hardships.
Because the
Before it
internet.
was more individual. Like my family, like my grandfather was like he was alive during the Great Depression, so we a lot of like gallows humor going on in my family.
Yeah.
So obviously it was always there, but now it's like
Well, I think
we
humor
can
is
focus on one thing.
humor really is a reaction to help deal with, you know, the stress and I mean you get PTSD from that. You know, going through something like that. So, I think comedy is extremely important for a number of reasons, and I think there are a lot of honest truths, simple truths in comedy, and that's because they're observant. They're looking for the next thing to joke about, and so they're like picking things apart and analyzing shit like more than I think the average person does.
And just adding context to stuff that like needs context.
And if you want, if you want to know how to like anything works or how to be a human being, just listen to everything George Carlin's ever said. He is the man.
Yeah.
And the later he went, the better he got. So did you ever hear about the one he did that was supposed to be released the day before 9/11? It was originally titled, it was an HBO special, stand-up special. It was originally titled, I kind of like it when a lot of people die.
Jesus Christ.
So we had to change it. Yeah.
That
the day
was
before.
not gonna land.
No. Was that a pun?
No, that was really unfortunate. That was really unfortunate.
That was an
You should
unfortunate
just
pun.
take credit for it at that point.
Yeah, but his later stuff was really, it was called Life is Worth Losing. It's my favorite special. It starts off with a modern man. And have you ever heard it? Modern Man opening. It's really incredible. You should listen to it.
I've listened to a lot of this stuff.
As soon as this is done, I want to play it for all of you. I think it is the greatest thing ever written by human beings.
Wow.
I mean that. The greatest thing
There's
ever.
a lot of stuff out there, Brandon.
No Shakespeare, no George
People
Lucas,
have written
Star
a
Wars
lot for a
episode.
long time.
Since writing was invented.
Yep.
Writing.
Modern man was the peak of humanity.
Wow. So we're on the down slope.
Yeah, it's all
That was a fast down slope.
Just a few centuries of writing.
He's already been dead. He's already been dead for like a decade.
That's crazy. Yeah, I saw that recently. Like the end of it. That's crazy to think about. It seems like he just passed.
He was really amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, simple truths and comedy.
Bro, I could sit here and talk all day. I could.
What do you want to
I
talk
really
about?
could.
What's your favorite kids' cuisine meal?
That's always sitcoms. Favorite sitcom.
Chicken.
Favorite sitcom? Always Sunny.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
I mean, unless you want to count The
terms of
Simpsons.
ironic
The Simpsons is the
comedy.
greatest thing like ever for me.
Yeah, have you ever watched the Conan O'Brien podcast where he sits down with all the Simpsons writers?
Oh, I heard about it, but I haven't seen
It's
it.
really good.
Yeah.
Because he was on the staff for a little bit too.
He was one of the early writers in the show, yeah. Back in the like 91, 92. And like it was like season like 3 and 4, like some of the best stuff they've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of those people that thinks that there's no such thing as a bad episode of The Simpsons. It's such a pure show for me. I mean, they're about to start season 31. Want to know what I love about
crazy.
Artsfest? So Artsfest ends at 8 p.m.
Bring it back around.
on Sunday, September 29th. The exact minute that Artsfest ends, not only does a new episode of The Simpsons premiere, but it's the season premiere.
So that was planned.
No,
for you.
it's just the last.
I have to get
the
home.
last 3 years. It's worked out that way.
That's
where
funny.
It's like the universe is. It's my gift from the universe.
That's
where
crazy.
as soon as Artsfest is my gift for doing Artsfest. is you
Yeah,
get
you're
a
rewarded.
new season of The Simpsons. So episode 666 this year is the Treehouse of Horror episode.
Yeah.
And the poster's like, we planned this from the beginning. They did, of course. So, but I mean, they just won an Emmy for Best Animated Show for season 30.
That's crazy.
I mean, they should get it just for persistence at that point.
A lot of people like, oh, Simpsons should end, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, when's the last time you watched Simpsons? 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Most shows don't even last 10 years.
Yeah, it's true.
But I think it's still brilliant, and I'm excited.
It's interesting because they have like really, because it's an animated show. Like for a long time I didn't watch it. I still don't really watch. Like, but I have a better understanding of it and appreciation for it. But it's like actually treated like a sitcom as far as writing rules go.
I actually forgot I was wearing a Simpsons shirt.
Yeah, no, that's very appropriate.
Because like I guess there's a scene where Homer falls like down a canyon or something and he's bouncing off rocks.
Yeah.
And I guess it was a big deal that the showrunner wanted Homer to look really awful by the end of it, so it seemed more real. So even though it's an animated show, they still want there to be rules.
That's
in
when
place.
he tried to jump the Springfield Gorge. when Bart was going to do it, but Homer stepped in and then accidentally like went backwards on a skateboard, and then he's going to make it and it just falls like, and then the helicopter's bringing him up and they drop him.
This is the Simpsons
I
wiki.
love it. You guys just want to watch The Simpsons?
Just for the rest of the show. No, I would love to. We could start watching The Simpsons in that George Carlin episode.
Sure.
But it's been a blast. I can't wait for Artsfest. I can't wait for everything that you're going to do next here and elsewhere, and the theater and everything.
Thanks.
It's exciting to watch, and hopefully we'll get to be around for it and all that. So
We're gonna die soon?
no,
Okay.
I just mean like physically around here while it's happening, to experience it, So thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you.
to talk with us today.
Thanks for
I'll be
having me.
back to do some more tours or something once
Sure.
I find someone who
Probably.
hasn't been here.
100% gonna
Chat
happen.
more, yeah. I hope that all you guys can make it out to Artsfest and
Yeah,
listeners
yeah,
too.
we're planning.
September 27th to the 29th down at Cedar Beach Park. It's our 6th year. Everything's free. 3 stages of music, interactive technology tent, skate park.
Was there an axe throwing trailer last year or something?
There was. We were trying to
Not
get
this
them
year?
back,
Okay.
but so far they haven't signed up. But last year, like the Friday we were starting, they just showed up.
Oh, okay.
We were setting up like, hey, can we like set up an axe throwing thing? We're like, yeah, sure. Let's go over there. And we have axes now, but
That's
what happens Friday the 27th, and if they actually show up again, but. It's it's a great event. If you haven't been out, you'll love it. If you've been out in the past and you've enjoyed it, it's going to be just as great, plus even better. We try to make it better every year.
It's a great place for your car to die.
Yeah.
So at least you can.
No, your car died at Cali Burrito.
Yeah, but it was parked there
Don't
because
put
then
that
I
on
walked to
Artsfest.
Artsfest.
Well,
I guess there was a street in the way.
that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a dangerous road.
yeah.
It's very active.
Yeah. It is. If you're coming to Artsfest and park on the other side of Hamilton, please don't get hit by a car.
It's
It's very dangerous.
That's really good. Do you have any recommended parking spot?
The parking lots fill up really quickly, so I would recommend Hang Glider. or jetpack.
Okay.
Would you
We do
recommend
have
jumping?
we have free jetpack and parking. So
Okay.
yeah.
Would you recommend jumping over gorges to get there?
I would if we had one. There's no Allentown
Make
gorge.
an artificial gorge. But we'll go start digging now.
We could probably find like a really bad pothole.
It's true. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Speaking of jumping things, one of the things I've always joked about doing that I would love to do in future years at Arts Fest is have a BMXer go off a giant ramp and land in the water.
That'd be great.
For no reason.
We would
awesome.
pretend that he's trying to jump the water, but there's no way.
It's gonna.
Yeah.
You should put a shark in there too.
Do you know any sharks?
I don't think they can live in.
Bull sharks can.
Fresh
Bull
water.
sharks live
Yeah.
fresh water.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
You'd probably kill it.
Probably.
You would endanger a shark.
Yeah, I don't want to endanger any sharks.
But the joke is just.
See, we
so
went
good.
from having the first animal to immediately a PETA violation. Like,
Hey,
right
I
away.
didn't do anything.
It's ridiculous, dude.
I don't think he has access to a shark.
No. Not yet.
I hope Pat doesn't have
Look,
access to sharks.
I've got some feelers out, but
There's probably a couple on eBay.
That's true.
for sure.
Yeah, if those sandwiches are on eBay, I'm sure sharks.
Think we can get a package deal? Get shark with the Popeyes sandwich.
There's got to be a joke in there somewhere, but I don't have it. Sorry. Brandon, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for
thank you.
hanging out and talking.
And I appreciate you coming here too.
Dude,
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
appreciate this existing, so thank you for that. You know, so
Yeah.
that we can come here. This is a location to come to. So I'd love to talk anytime.
Sure, let's do it again.
And I'm sure this is going to be another top-notch episode. So I'm very excited. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for watching.
you for watching and listening. Lab 212, poorly edited podcast, alternative gallery, and we'll see you later.
Shark.
Shark, Popeyes.
Jump from